In 2022, we moved from a tent to a pop-up. In this video, we'll look at the 5 things we loved about a pop-up and 5 reasons we moved on.
What I liked about Donut that my bed had donut things on it, and that there was no flies came in. And what I didn't like about Donut that there was no toilet or shower, and that pops up and down. And I wish there was fish in it. I didn't really like anything about Donut. What I didn't like about Donut that she had no toilet and that she was too small, and I didn't really like the bed. What I liked about Donut that no flies came in, and I had an open sleeping space and I didn't have to sleep on the ground. What I didn't really like about Donut was that there's no bathroom and we had to pop it up and down, which took longer to set up.
Well, you just heard it from the kids what they liked and didn't like about pop-up campers. And today, we'll be talking about the 5 ups and the 5 downs of family camping in a pop-up.
So the first thing we found was that our pop-up was affordable. The initial cost of the pop-up we found to be much less expensive than some of these other travel trailers that we looked at.
Yeah, and we didn't need a new tow vehicle. That was a huge plus. We could tow it with a 2014 Honda Odyssey without any issues.
Our Honda Odyssey also covered our insurance policy for our travel trailer. We didn't have to have an initial or another policy for that. However, check your state. Each state may differ.
And finally, we were able to use tent sites. We didn't need water and electricity, so we were able to get into state parks at a much lower expense than a lot of these full hookup RV sites required.
So the second point was that it was easy to tow. We found that most can be towed by an SUV or a small crossover, which makes it more accessible to campers.
And being easy to tow was huge. We had no experience towing, and the fact that the pop-up is short and you can see over it was a benefit on the highway so you could see around you, but more so for backing up.
So the third thing we liked about our pop-up was that it was more comfortable than a tent. We went from sleeping on the ground to blowing up air mattresses to sleeping on an actual mattress, which was kind of nice.
It was more than kind of nice. Once you have that, you don't want to go back to a tent. We also felt that the pop-up gave us better weather protection. If you have ever camped with kids, you know they touch that tent about 5,000 times per second. This wasn't an issue with the pop-up. The canvas was heavier. We went through thunderstorms and never had it leak. And we went into fairly cold weather and it kept us warm.
We also had heat inside our pop-up, which helped. We'd come from a cold day and then come inside. We could turn the heat on, making it nice and warm in there. Some pop-ups also had AC, however ours did not, but it would have been nice to have, and you can get that. The other thing is we felt secure in our tent. We were somewhat off the ground, we were away from nature a little bit, we could still see outside, which was nice.
And probably 2 of my favorite points were I could stand up, that was huge, and we had a door. I cannot tell you how nice it is to have a door to take your kids in and out of versus unzipping and zipping a tent. The 4th clue we had was convenience. We didn't have to put everything in the van. We were able to put stuff in the van, but also keep a lot of it inside the pop-up.
On one of our first trips camping with kids, we were camping in a tent. Therefore, we had to put everything in our vehicle. We didn't have the pop-up at the time, so we couldn't fit things in the pop-up, and things were piled on top of the kids.
And our final pro was that it kept us close to nature. We loved the open air experience of tent camping, and the pop-up let us keep that as we transitioned. You could unzip all the canvas, open the windows, have nice light and wonderful airflow. And that light let you feel like it was a lot bigger than it actually was.
So if you've had a pop-up or you're thinking about getting one, we'd love to hear from you. Leave us a comment below what you liked and what you didn't like, or why you're even considering getting one. We'd love to hear from you.
Now that we've talked about the pros, we have to get into the cons.
So our first con was the potential issues that a canvas can have.
You have to be careful when handling the canvas so you don't put a tear in it. A little hole could become a big leak. You have to maintain it so you have camp dry on it to keep it waterproof, and then you have to make sure you don't put it away wet so you avoid mold and mildew issues.
When we were first looking for a pop-up camper, we walked into one that must have not been put away properly. It must have still been wet, and it smelled like mold, and we decided not to buy it.
Yeah, that's something you have to be aware of.
So our second con was that you can't get everywhere.
A lot of the state parks will not allow you in unless you have hard sides. So you want to make sure you know how you intend to use the pop-up before you go out and purchase one.
And that brings us to our next point. Our third con was that we had limited storage space.
We had mentioned that it gained a space, which it definitely did, but you have to be aware. You only can keep items that will fit when it's closed down.
We had a smaller fridge in our pop-up. We couldn't fit as much stuff as we thought. We actually had to bring a separate cooler along to put some of our perishables in because the cooler inside was great, but not big enough.
Yeah, and then you're also taking up space with that canvas, the beds, and all the supports that have to go somewhere so you can set up the pop-up. The fourth con we had was that pop-ups have few amenities.
We didn't have an AC in our pop-up, which would have been kind of nice on some hot days. Some do, but we didn't. We also didn't have a bathroom or a shower, which would have been especially nice with little kids.
Yeah, if you're going to get a pop-up and you have kids, I will recommend at least get one with an outdoor shower so you can hose them off. The other thing to be aware of is a lot of pop-ups, while they have water, they do not have a water heater, so it's just campground cold.
The last thing we didn't like about the pop-up was the annoyance of setting up and taking down.
This was a biggie. You do it way more than you anticipate. On an average camping trip, you get to open it so you can load it up, close it so you can go and travel.
Wait, we forgot something. Now we have to add something to it. We have to open it again.
Close it up again, drive to the campsite. You get there, you're setting up the pop-up again, enjoy the weekend. Time to close it all back down. You get home, and one more time, you get to open the pop-up just to make sure you got everything out of it and to let the canvas dry out so you don't have to deal with wet, musty, moldy canvas.
If you found this video helpful, give us a thumbs up. And to follow us in our adventures, please subscribe. Remember, keep on adventuring.